All right, great. So this month we began this brand new sermon series titled The Kingsmen, Ordinary People, Extraordinary Mission. So we said this, at the heart of this sermon series, the underbelly, the underpinning, the crux of it, the heart of this sermon series is the fact that we are not spectators in God's kingdom, that we are sent ones, that we are not just saved, then heavenly bound, that there's a mission field that's awaiting us here on earth. So turn to your neighbor and tell them, we are sent ones. So we began this sermon series 2 weeks ago, and on week 1, we identified and saw the caliber of people that Jesus Christ picked for mission. We saw that these people were ordinary people. We saw that these people were unlikely people, just like you and me. Yet, Jesus Christ picks them, and he gives them this extraordinary mission. He says to them that I know you feel ordinary. I know you feel underqualified. I know you feel like you haven't studied theology. I know you have this or the other. Things that you feel are incapacities to you. But he's saying, regardless of that, in spite of that, I'm going to use you. And that's exactly what he did with his disciples. And so that week we concluded and we said, stop waiting for the call. You've already been sent. Stop waiting for the call. You've already been activated. Last week, we picked up from there. And last week, we said, okay, fine. Okay, I am called. I am sent. There's a mission field that's ready and waiting for me. But last week, we stopped at the mission field. And we lingered there for a bit, and we said how the mission field is not a neutral space. As a matter of fact, it's contested territory. Therefore, once you have that understanding that I am called, that I am sent, I'm now ready to go forth and spread this gospel, you have to be aware that when you go out into your workspaces, when you go out to your social media spaces, when you go out into the taxi that you're going to get into, remember that these spaces are not neutral. You will meet all sorts of people. And so when you go out with this faith of yours, the one that you really want to share, you have to know that there's some tact, there's some wisdom that you have to employ as a sent one in a contested world. And last week we concluded by saying you have to be as shrewd as a snake and as innocent as a dove. Two paradoxical statements that we said we must constantly hold in tension for you to be able to understand the mission field requires my tact. It requires my wisdom, but it also requires me to maintain my purity because I am of this world, but I'm in this world, but I'm not of this world. So today we move on from there and we come to a part that is not always welcome to most of us. Many people would rather not talk about this part. You see, if you've tried to live out your faith in 21st century Nairobi, you may have noticed something troubling. The moment you decide to honor God openly at work, in school, in your family, among your friends, life can become complicated because choosing integrity may cost you an opportunity, perhaps for promotion. Speaking about your faith may make you look weird, cuckoo, and strange. Refusing to compromise can affect your relationships. And at some point, I know you may find yourself asking, why does following Jesus sometimes make life harder rather than easier? Again, attention that we are grappling with. You want to be faithful to Christ, but you also feel the pressure that comes with representing Christ in this 21st century world. So it could be pressure from colleagues at work who don't understand your convictions. You've gone out to Naivasha, the city of Sherehe, the Vegas of Kenya. The Vegas of Kenya, right? You've gone out and you have this team building exercise and everybody is doing all sorts of things after hours, yet you're going to your room. And you will be ridiculed and mocked because you have chosen to go to your room to sleep. Pressure from friends who think you're becoming too serious or too spiri. Have you ever been called too spiri? Sometimes even pressure from family who question the direction of your life. And in those moments, a deeper question can begin to surface. If following faithfully Jesus Christ, creates this kind of resistance in everyday life, is it really worth the cost? Ask your neighbor, is this really worth the cost? So this week, again, we're picking up today's reading from the same piece of scripture that we've read the past 2 weeks, Matthew 10, 16 to 22. Matthew 10, 16 to 22. So it says this, and by now it should be familiar because we've read it over and over again the past 2 weeks. It starts by saying, I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Be on your guard. You will be handed over to the local councils and be flogged in the synagogues. On my account, you will be brought before governors and kings as witnesses to them and to the Gentiles. But when they arrest you, do not worry about what to say or how to say it. At that time, you will be given what to say. For it will not be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child. Children will rebel against their parents and have them put to death. You will be hated by everyone because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. So let's pause a moment and consider what we have just read. So Jesus Christ picks his disciples. Then he sends his disciples out on a mission. And you would expect, because Jesus Christ is sending his disciples with this amazing gospel, with this life-changing gospel. He's sending them out with this message of love, with this message of hope, with this message of redemption, of restoration, of forgiveness, that people would welcome you. But Jesus says something really interesting. His reaction, the reaction of the people you're going into in the mission field, will be very different. In fact, the Message translation captures it very accurately. It says this: there is a great irony here, proclaiming so much love, experiencing so much hate. So let's break down this piece of text and let's see what it's actually saying. The first thing that it's saying to you, that it said to the disciples when they were sent out on mission, is that expect opposition from the front, from the back, from the left, and from the right. Basically, expect opposition on all fronts. So imagine this. You got saved. You love Jesus. You just realized where he brought you from. You have this insatiable desire to spread the gospel, to tell people your story. So you begin to tell people your story. You tell them, oh my God, God saved me. You should know where I was from. I was an alcoholic, but guess what? 5 years down the line, I am sober. Or I was addicted to gambling, and now I am shrewd with my finances. I'm prudent with my finances. I was once lost, but now I am found. And you're sharing this story of your life with so much gusto and enthusiasm. And in your mind, you're thinking, surely this is a life-changing, life-saving, redemptive story. People ought to celebrate. What a shock. Because Jesus says, don't be surprised when you share your story of redemption or salvation and people actually oppose you. So basically what this piece of text is telling us is Jesus is giving you and I a heads up. He's saying he wants you to understand that yes, following me comes with benefits. It does. It absolutely does. Being a believer, being a son, a daughter of the Most High God, the King of Kings, it'll come with a flood of benefits. However, in the same breath, you have to understand that it will also come at a cost. So if you have been a Christian for 5 years and there's been no cost, maybe it's time to ask yourself, am I really walking with Jesus. It should come at a cost. This is not a cost-free mission. So let me tell you this. Jesus is not guessing whether opposition will come. His language is not iffy. His language is not tentative in any way. Jesus is not even saying maybe opposition will come. He's not using tentative words like if opposition comes. Jesus says when. So he speaks about opposition with utmost clarity, with utmost certainty. In other words, if you're serious about representing Christ, resistance should not surprise you. What should surprise you is if you have encountered no resistance. It would mean you're just coasting in this life. So he says, Jesus says, you should actually expect it. If you look at the language in the text, verse 17 says, you will be handed over. Verse 18, you will be brought. Verse 19, you will be hated. Notice the pattern. You will, you will, you will. Jesus is making something crystal clear to his disciples, to you and I, that opposition is not an accident of the mission. It's a part of the mission. So this package that you have received after you say yes to the call, when you go out into the mission field, that package has many things. It has some nice benefits. It has other things inside it. But somewhere there in the middle is opposition. So if I throw that package of Christianity to you, and Pastor Ija, you catch it. Are you catching it? Okay, so I'm throwing it to you. Just know you're going to get the benefits. Just know you're going to get everything else. And just know you're going to get opposition. It's a guarantee. It's a assured thing. And then Jesus Christ does this thing for us. He entangles this opposition thing and gives us some more information about it. He says, opposition will come from the front, the back, the side, and the side. It'll come from all fronts. So be on guard. Wait for it. Look for it. Expect it. Then he breaks it down and says, one, the first place that opposition will come is on the religious front. Verse 17, be on your guard. You will be handed over to the local councils and be flogged in the synagogues. You will be flogged in religious spaces with religious people. Think about that statement for a moment. Jesus is saying that some of the opposition that you will encounter will be found in religious spaces. Not from people who don't believe in God, but from the body of Christ. From people who worship God. From those who have strong opinions about theology. People like you and me who are saved and who love Jesus Christ. Religious spaces. You know, I remember years ago when Mavuno Church was started in the year 2005. How many were there when Mavuno Church was started? Now the true ancestors. Raise your hands, we see you. In the beginning, the Rock of Ages. You know, maybe you were there and you were 12. So it's fine. Don't be shy. Please raise your hand. So many years, 2005, we celebrated 20 years last year. So we are 21 this year. Many years ago when Mavuno Church was started in 2005, Mavuno Church had this really interesting model to try and reach people who would otherwise not come willingly into the confines of a church. So they said, you know, we can be speaking to an echo chamber. We could be speaking to people like us. So where are the people who need Christ the most? And they did this really intelligent thing of mapping. And they discovered a place that was very, very popular. But let me tell you, these tactics received, thank you so much. Is my hair flowing? The wind? These tactics received a lot of criticism, strong criticism, especially from religious circles. Now, if you're a millennial like me, you remember a place called Carnival. How many people remember Carnival? No, people, look at you. Look at that. Shalom. I can see people pretending they don't remember Carnival. What is that? So for those who truly don't know what Carnival is or where it was, Carnival was a popular club. How do you know it's still there? Why are you there? Rock of Ages. All right, so Carnival is still there, I'm told. Me, I don't know. Me, I just know the church. All right. So Carnival was this very popular establishment, a social establishment, social club where you would go and hang out and have fun. But let me tell you, Carnival was also the be-all and the end-all of all debauchery in the Nairobi city. If you are a parent in that era and your child was at Carnival on Wednesday, they were probably there for... They were probably there for rock night. If you were a parent and your child was not in your house on Friday or Saturday, they were probably Soul. Oh, yes. Soul night was Sunday. You are being corrected. It was Sunday. Soul night was Sunday. So anyway, this establishment was super popular. It was literally all roads leading to Carnival on these particular days. And it was really, really popular. So as Mavuno Church at the time was doing their mapping, they said, you know what? Why don't we go to Carnival? Ha! What are you saying? Because they were saying that you're already saved. You're already sitting on the pews. Why don't we go out to where the people are and preach this gospel to the people? It was highly contentious. Mavuno Church received very strong criticism. Now, let me tell you, at the time, Mavuno Church had just moved from a small space at South Sea Sports Club to Mavuno Church, Bellevue. Because of going into Carnival, they tell stories about how, my husband was on staff, I think, at the time. They tell stories of how one Sunday, they had 400 people coming to church, their normal congregation. Literally the next Sunday, they had 1,600 people. I don't know what percentage of growth that is, but it's because somebody dared to go to a place and encounter people who desperately needed to hear God. But in the echo chambers of religious circles, Mavuno was told, you're compromising on your values. You're doing way too much. You're trying too hard to please people. And in my mind, I'm so puzzled by that line of thinking, because since when did trying hard, too hard, to win a lost soul become problematic? Now, let me tell you something. It's so interesting how we have this cognitive dissonance constantly, because companies, corporate organizations spend millions of money advertising. They try to convince you to buy a product. Possibly that product is tobacco or alcohol. It's even harmful to you. But somehow they found a way to literally choke this thing down your throat because they know what they want. They have an agenda. You know, I was saying earlier how I've been driving around this Kilimani area and I'm seeing these huge signs, especially around roundabouts, written Martel. And because me, I'm a pastor, I don't know what Martel is. Then I asked my husband, and my husband knew what it was. It's alcohol. I don't know if it's a whiskey, I don't even know if whatever it is, but anyway, it's alcohol. And I just said, the brazen audacity. These people, you know how to sell things. You go out of your way. You look for prominent roundabouts. But somehow, your faith and your Christianity, you hide it under. Because if you do such things, you're doing too much. You're doing the most. So corporate organizations do that even for harmful products. They will follow you on social media with targeted ads. You will feel inundated constantly. They will send you emails. They will send you SMSs. They will send you promotions, discounts, everything possible to get your attention. They will even do crazy things like follow you around the internet so that the same shoe you looked at once appears in every ad for the next 2 weeks. Let me tell you, with socials, don't make a mistake to linger on an ad for shoes. Even if you are uncertain about it, you will see it until you purchase it. And nobody complains that they are trying too hard. But when the church tries hard to reach people with this life-saving message, suddenly people say you're doing too much. And the irony is, over the years, I've had stories of people who were in those scanny days, those people who were in those outreach events, who didn't know God but now know God, who were not serving God but now serve God, whose children and teenagers actually enjoy coming to church. Do you see the teenagers who stand here at the front, raising their hands and dancing? Let me tell you, this is an anomaly. It is. If you have a teenager who's going through those ravaging hormones, and everything is happening between 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, let me tell you, they would want to be anywhere but here. But somehow we have those. Let me tell you, I told you last week how I was here on Thursday, the other Thursday for Campus Trend. It's a sight to behold. It's young people who have all the time in the world, so they should really be here. But they are dancing. They are having a good time in God's presence. Their peers, let me tell you, are in ditches, are sniffing things. I want you to say this with me, Mavuno Church Downtown. A Kingsman cannot follow a crucified king and expect a cost-free mission. Cannot follow a crucified king and expect cost. It will cost you. It will cost you to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. It will cost you to be a follower of Jesus Christ. It will cost you in the marketplace. It will. If you will have the label on your back as being the boring husband who doesn't go out for sherehe when you're going for an out-of-town retreat because you're faithful to your wife, then so be it. But it will cost you. Let me tell you, being a Christian is akin to wearing a shoe that doesn't fit you, that's pinching you. You will have to feel constantly because it's going to cost you approval. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you resources. It's going to cost you reputation. It's going to cost you. So now, possibly introspect and figure out, is it costing you something? And if it's not, we have to address it. Jesus doesn't stop there. So he says, yes, you will get opposition from religious spaces. People won't understand your methodology, but do it anyway. Do it anyway so that you can move from 400 to 1,600 people who now have a fervency for Jesus Christ. He doesn't stop there. Verse 18 says this, on my account, you will be brought before governors and kings. What Jesus does here is he introduces the secular space or the secular front. In other words, in addition to being opposed in religious spaces, you'll also be opposed in secular spaces. You know, I give this example of a man who I have known for a while. His name is Andrew Ranja. I talked about Mavuno Church, Kampala. He was one of the three men, together with Sumit Walia and Frank Mwa, who went every day by bus to lead a Mizizi class in Uganda that eventually led to that church plant coming. So Ranja didn't just stop there. Ranja is an advocate of the High Court and he runs a law firm. And what Ranja did, or rather what Ranja does over the 10 years that he's been practicing as a lawyer, is he has said no to corruption and bribery. Whatever it looks like, if it smells like corruption, it's a no. If it looks like corruption, it's a no. So let me tell you, Ranja does a number of legal things, but one of the things that he does is conveyancing and land law. And I can tell you, as a lawyer who exited private practice very quickly, because I was like, this is not my ghetto. And he's stuck in it. And what Ranja does, guys, is my mic okay? It's good? Or is it my hair? It's the fan. Oh, okay. So what Ranja did is, should we turn off the fan? Okay. It's okay, I can roast here. It's fine. On behalf of the sound, I'll be fine. Okay. So what Ranja does is this. He has a client who comes to him with a land or conveyancing brief, and he tells the client, you know, typically this could take 2 weeks. But unfortunately, because I have a no bribing policy, it might take 6 months. Now, here's the thing. You have come to him, and you want your title pretty urgently, or you'd rather have it in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. You will leave Ranja's practice and go to XYZ Associates. Let me tell you something. 10 years on, it has cost Andrew Ranja. Let me tell you, it has cost him even months when he's not able to pay his rent. By the time you've done practice for 10 years, you've established your name. But surely, do we want to wait 6 months for a title deed? So you go to another lawyer. But let me tell you, Ranja is resolute. He has said, it's fine. I will work with those who work with me. And unfortunately, they are not the majority. In a secular space, Ranja has said, I'm standing my ground, I'm drawing the line. There's no blurriness in that space. And so think about the secular space that you live in, that you work in. What line have you drawn? Or have you allowed the blurriness of society to pollute even the things that you say yes to and the things that you say no to? Let me tell you, the reason why Jesus Christ says that we're going to get opposition in the secular space is because, let me tell you, the gospel is disruptive. The values of the kingdom are often countercultural. So you work in a space and kickbacks are just the order of the day. It's just the way we do things. This is how things are done here. So that happens in a space, but you refuse. You will get opposition. When everyone else is cutting corners to survive, you choose your integrity. Guaranteed opposition. When everyone else is bending the rules, you stand by your convictions. Guaranteed opposition. And because of that, you may find yourself standing out in ways that make people feel uncomfortable. People might look at you and look for ways to push you out. That will cost you. It will cost you potential income. It will cost you those things. Let me tell you, just this week, somebody slid into my DM in a good way. On LinkedIn, actually. And it was a headhunter, and they were saying that there's this particular role in this organization, but it was a good role. It was a good role. When I looked at the bio of the organization, though, they're a pro-abortion organization. And so, let me tell you, in my field of work, that's very normal. Yeah, it's very, very normal. So, what I would ordinarily do is I would decline the role and not give any reason. I send a message, and I had wanted to send the screenshots, just so that you people know I am talking the truth. Join the WhatsApp group, I'll send it there. So I send it to this lady, and I say, thank you for thinking about me, something to that effect. But I say that, unfortunately, the ethos of the organization don't align with my values. I actually give a reason so that she doesn't slide into my DM again and give me now another organization. But it's important that I say those things. It's important that people know that, no, you can't send me such roles because I will not take them. But somehow, because we are not sure about this cost thing, you can come to church and lift your hands in holy surrender, yet you're saying yes to a deal you know and you know and you know you should not be saying yes to. That is what it's going to cost you. If I was looking and I wanted this role, I could possibly close my eyes and say, you know what, it's not so bad. But it will cost you certain things. And so Jesus is saying to you today that you will get opposition from secular spaces as well. You have to expect it. It is coming either way as a believer. A Kingsman cannot follow a crucified king and expect a cost-free mission. He also picks out another level of opposition. And the one he picks out is the family front. In verse 21, it says this: brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child. Children will rebel against their parents and have them put to death. You will be hated by everyone because of me. Like, Jesus Christ, what I want from you is your blessings. Give me your blessings. Give me your favor. Give me everything. But then don't cause a brother to betray a brother. That's where I draw the line with you, Jesus. I love you, but if this opposition comes, I don't know if I'm going to pick you. This verse is saying something really, really sobering. It's saying that the reality of life, the reality of being a follower of Jesus Christ, the reality of being a disciple, a child of Jesus Christ, a sent one, is that some resistance will come from those closest to you, even family members. If I dig deeper, even spouses. I came across the term discordancy in the 90s. Yeah, call me Rock of Ages. Where are the Rock of Ages people? They've gone in the beginning. I came across the term discordancy in the 90s, and the context I was used then was to describe discordant HIV couples. At the time of the HIV scourge, we had a couple who one person had HIV and the other one didn't. That was the confines of that word, discordancy. But let me tell you, there's also discordancy when it comes to faith with couples, where one is a fervent believer, one wants to serve God, one is invested in this thing, one wants their children to come to church and be raised in the way of the Lord, the other one doesn't. There's also a discordancy. So what happens if you're in that situation, or you know somebody who is? Because the reality is that opposition can come from that front. Why are you going to church so early? Why are you serving? Why are people in our house? What is a discipleship group? You will get opposition. People will not necessarily understand your convictions. They may question the choices you make. They may struggle with the direction your life is taking. I know many people who are pastors, their parents, family, sisters, brothers have questioned, of all the careers, you choose this one. Help me explain why an intelligent person becomes a pastor. It was almost seen, being a pastor was almost seen as being like, you're D material. You're D plus material. That's why you have opted to become a pastor. Isn't it true? Now, I'd have you know, I have a pretty sharp brain. I'm not a pastor because I'm D material. On the contrary. But I know people who have been crucified by their family because surely you're wasting your potential becoming a pastor. And it's not just that. Even if you're a discipleship group leader or a zonal pastor, even if you're here as a child of God in church, there's people who won't understand why you're not walking your chihuahua. Your chihuahua in Karura on Sunday. That's the vogue thing to do. I remember when the reality of, I'd never practiced yoga, but I remember when the reality of how yoga is not encouraged for us as Christians. I know I'm really unearthing feelings here, but you will get opposition because you're a Christian. You will get opposition because you're a follower of Jesus Christ. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. The book of Matthew, Jesus actually prepares us, his disciples, for this reality. Jesus says something. Do not be surprised when this scenario happens to you. It's echoed in 1 Peter 4:12. Dear friends, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you. In other words, expect criticism from religious people, pressure from secular environments, and misunderstanding from family and friends. For a believer, opposition is not a relegated thing. It's part of the package. It's part of the mission. Christianity is not a popularity context. You're representing a different kingdom, so you will not be liked. You will be hated. Expect it. Don't be naive about it. Say this with me. A Kingsman cannot follow a crucified king and expect a cost-free mission. So this text dissects the opposition on all fronts, and I've given you a few examples of how it does so. The second thing it does is the reason for the opposition. It makes it super clear. Notice something here. Verse 18. On my account, you will be brought before governors and kings as witnesses to them and to the Gentiles. Now, I don't know if you caught that, because Jesus is saying, when you are brought before them, it will be as a witness. In other words, the opposition you're experiencing from these multiple fronts is not meaningless. There's always an opportunity for the gospel. The very systems that oppose the gospel will sometimes become the stage where the gospel is proclaimed. And the reason for this is because there are people in those spaces, in your workspaces, in your social media spaces, in your family, home spaces, who will never walk to church. But Jesus died for them as well. So what do? Sometimes the only gospel they'll see is a believer who refuses to compromise. A believer who's willing to stand for Christ, even if it costs you something. Let me tell you, by all means, be the boring guy who goes to your room during a work retreat. By all means. You know, you're even getting more sleep than other people. You should be happy about that. But it's going to cost you your street cred. It's going to cost you your coolness factor. But what is cool in the grander scheme of things? If Mavuno would have remained a cool church, we would be stuck at the 400 people who were there at the beginning. If we decided not to get into the enclaves of society where people need Christ the most, we would be speaking to an echo chamber where you speak, it reverberates on the wall and it comes back. Yet, that message needs this wall to just go up, to fly up, so that it can permeate in this Nairobi. It's so interesting. Even when I talk about Andrew Ranja, he's literally an anomaly. He literally is. I don't know how many other lawyers are in the house. I love this part because it says there's a reason. There's a reason. It's almost like there's a method in the madness. In the chaos of the opposition, there's something there. You can serve as a witness when you stand up and your voice is counted. Opposition is not pointless. It has a purpose. You know, they say in the corporate spaces, don't waste a good crisis. If you're in a crisis, if you're in an opposition, don't waste it. Because there's a reason why that is happening for you to become a witness. Ephesians 5:15-16 says this, be very careful then how you live, not as unwise but as wise, making the most of every opportunity. Now, the reality is there's a danger here because sometimes when believers are attacked or opposed, you're just there minding your business, somebody on socials comes at you, says, I saw this person in church, they were doing this or the other, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes when that opposition comes your way, the thing that we do is we become wary and not witnesses. We don't use the opportunity. We become bitter and fail to see the opportunity for the gospel. So Jesus is saying to us here, he's reminding us in verse 18, even the attacks can become an opportunity for the gospel. Verse 19 shows us something else. His presence in the opposition. So there will be opposition. The opposition will come from these different fronts. Then the opposition serves a purpose. But finally, his presence in the opposition. Verse 19, I love this. It says, but when they arrest you, I love the certainty of being arrested. I love the certainty of experiencing hardships. But when they arrest you, do not worry about what to say or how to say it. At that time, you will be given what to say, for it will not be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. And I love it. This is something so beautiful because Jesus Christ doesn't promise you that you will not face opposition. He says, okay, you will face opposition, yes. But he promises his presence in the opposition. In other words, when you stand for Christ, you will never stand alone. You know, sometimes we talk about Jesus theoretically, and we express our faith theologically. But it's often in the fire that we experience Jesus Christ most clearly. It's when rubber meets the road. It's when you encounter that opposition in your workplace, when you're being sidelined for a job because you have apparently made your stand about an issue. It's at that moment that Jesus Christ shows himself clearly. Because if we see this in Scripture, it was in the fire that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego encountered the presence of God. They didn't encounter the presence of God when they were in the palace. It was when things were thick. They were literally facing death. It was in exile on a lonely island that John received the revelation of Jesus. It was while being stoned that Stephen the martyr looked up and saw the heavens open and Jesus standing at the right hand of God. Mavuno Downtown, it's when you say yes to the call. It's when it's coming at a cost. It's at that time when Jesus actually shows up. It was Paul who said this in 2 Timothy 4:16-17. At my first defense, no one came to my support, but everyone deserted me. But the Lord stood with me and gave me strength. When you choose to share your faith with someone, when you choose to tell your story of what Jesus has done in your life, when you choose to invite someone to church or to your small group, what we call discipleship groups here, when you choose to speak about Christ in spaces where his name is rarely mentioned, I need you to know that you're not alone. And can I tell you, we did say it's intimidating to be the only one who's raising your hand and saying, I can't stay past 6 p.m. because I have a church thing. You would rather not say it. But it's in those spaces that Jesus is telling you, you might find favor even with a secular boss. They will appreciate that this person has boundaries and say, okay, at least I appreciate. I might not get your faith, but I appreciate that. God says to us, I will not leave you nor forsake you. That he will give you the wisdom you need at that time. He will give you the capacity. He will give you the grace. He will give you the strength you need at that time. And then one day you look back and realize something really profound, that those very places that felt like attacks and opposition and resistance were the spaces where God was working through you the most. So Mavuno Church Downtown, a Kingsman cannot follow a crucified king and expect a cost-free mission. I stumbled upon this quote from a book called The Cost of Discipleship by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. It says, when Christ calls a man, he bids him come and die. The reality of the call of Jesus Christ is death. The reality is that there's a cost attached to following Jesus Christ. The reality is that we've been told, expect it to come. It's on its way. But when it comes, I will be there for you. I will give you the words. I will give you the strength. I will give you the wisdom to navigate that. I wonder what it would look like for many more Christians in government spaces to truly say, this is a corruption-free zone. We have that in every government premise. Please remove those plaques because they are meaningless. It's literally impossible to get any license. It's so hard doing business in this country. Everything has a kickback. It's exhausting. What would it take for you as a Christian in the government space to actually tell your colleagues, we must live, we must walk the talk? You know, I had somebody saying that I can be corrupt because it doesn't affect Mama Mboga. Or I'm like, how naive can you be? That your corruption in a government office of millions or billions doesn't affect us. It affects people who are in public primary or secondary schools. Capitation is always late. Let me tell you, like Lavington Secondary, they get capitation of 1,000 shillings per child per year from the government. 1,000. So for Lavington Secondary to actually be maintained, they wait in bated breath for that 1,000 shillings. And it always comes late. It's May and you're waiting for it. let me tell you, that bribery, that corruption has a bearing on a child getting it. You have to go meta. Don't just play. This is not your field. You have to see that every single action in that office has a meta effect. It always cascades in one way or the other, even in a private setting. Do you work in a corporate entity that takes members of parliament to the coast to deliberate on a bill? Tell me how clean that is. Tell me how clean it is. We have corporates who, let me tell you something, as a person who works in the INGO space, I have something really important to share with a corporate organization. For example, it could be climate change or environment issues or whatever it is, but for me to take them to Mombasa for a retreat, I have to pay them because they've been paid by a corporate. You're messing it up. Let me tell you something, a cost. Are you wearing a shoe of discipleship as a servant of the Most High God? If it's not pinching you, something is missing. Something is wrong. Let me tell you something. I was saved by grace. I was saved late in life. And for me, it shatters my heart. Because I think about a God. Let me tell you, at the beginning of time, God's intention was to be in perpetual fellowship with man. That didn't go well. Because the enemy slithered his way through. He deceived us. And so we are expelled from the Garden of Eden. But let me tell you, we see a God throughout the Old Testament. From Genesis to Malachi, we see a God chasing after you and I. We see him picking a prophet and saying, okay, help me with these people. Because he loves us so much. There was constant fellowship of his people. We see him picking kings, picking ordinary people for that. And then the book, theologians will tell you that there's this period called the 400-year silence between the book of Malachi and Matthew. Let me tell you, I think that period was nothing but silent. I think it was everything but silent. I think in that period, God was contemplating something that the enemy did not have a response to. Because God says that I have sent man, I have sent prophet, I have sent woman, I have sent king. But they haven't done this redemption thing. So what am I going to do? I'm going to send myself. I'm going to come through my son, Jesus Christ. And we see Jesus Christ relegating his godness to assume humanity, to walk this earth. We see him dying a grueling, humiliating death for you and I. So when we talk about a crucified king, if you're going to follow Jesus Christ, it has to cost you something. It has to cost you something. I want us to conclude as I just share a brief acronym, which is COST, C-O-S-T. The first thing that I'd like us to do, ladies and gentlemen, is count the cost. Are you wearing this shoe? It has to pinch you. Cost of approval, cost of time, cost of resources. As a disciple of Jesus Christ, it has to cost you. Decide today that you will speak about Jesus even when it feels uncomfortable. Decide now that you will not stay silent when the Spirit nudges you to speak, to share your story. Set your mission non-negotiables now. Don't let fear come in the way. Just say, I know I live in a contentious space. I work in a liberal environment. People will know that I'm a Christian. People will know that I love God. Let them do with it what they think. But I'm going to count the cost. The second thing is obey promptly, because you're going to get opportunities to share your story. You'll be in a taxi and you'll feel this urge. Can I talk to him? Can I talk to him? Talk! If you feel the nudge to speak, speak. If you feel the nudge to invite, we've got worship night this Friday. Why don't you invite someone? Someone who maybe likes musical experiences, but will never come here on a Sunday. When the Spirit nudges you to pray for somebody, maybe this week, this month, it's saying, these 3 people in my family, they will never come to church. So what I'll do is I will pray for them. It might mean that you wake up at 3 a.m. to pray for them. It's going to cost you your beauty sleep, but do it. is stand firm. We've been told it's a surety, it's a certainty that this thing is going to happen. So when resistance comes, don't disappear. Don't become a ghost Christian the moment things get awkward. You know, we always say that Jesus Christ is my personal savior. Let me tell you, that is the beginning. Jesus Christ was never meant to be private for you. Jesus Christ was meant to be experienced from you to other people. So while it begins as him being your personal savior, it cannot end there. So stand firm. When resistance comes, stand firm. It's Ephesians 6:13 that reminds us, therefore put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand. The last one, trust the outcome to the King. Let me tell you, many of these things, we can't do them on our own. I don't know about you, but I required 5 invitations to come to church. It wasn't just the first invitation. So just trust the outcome of the King. You're not the one who's going to convert somebody. It's the Holy Spirit that will do that. Your job is just to represent the King faithfully. Mavuno Church Downtown, a Kingsman cannot follow a crucified King and expect a cost-free mission.